Everyone loves real estate stories, but not everyone knows how wild and crazy it can be. Want to know what actually goes down when trying to close a deal? You're in luck, because you're listening to Real Estate Real Laughs, hosted by Valerie Fitzgerald and Bob Hurwitz. Get a good dose of stories and laughter from industry experts who have seen and done it all. Get behind the scenes and be privy to the high-end luxury market. Enjoy refreshing takes from fellow industry insiders and celebrities. Tune in and get a front row ticket to the unseen and hilarious side of real estate with Valerie Fitzgerald and Bob Hurwitz.
Welcome, listeners, to our podcast, Real Estate Real Laughs, the most entertaining stories behind the real estate curtain. I'm Valerie Fitzgerald.
And I'm Bob Hurwitz.
And I'm Philip Boroda.
Well, Bob, today I am thrilled to have our guest on the show today, my friend and our colleague, Philip Boroda. Philip sells residential luxury and distressed properties all over Southern California. He's in the top 1% of agents in the U.S. with over 20 years and has sold over $10 billion in career sales. Welcome, Philip.
Oh, my gosh. You're too kind. Well, I'm just trying to keep up with you and Bob, if you want to know the truth. And it's been really hard because you guys are always in the lead. But thank you for the nice compliment.
Yeah, Philip's got some good humility. It's funny because he and I, although this is the first time we've actually met, have known each other for decades. And it's interesting because I know his business model has evolved and so has mine since the late 80s and the early 90s, but we used to go head to head on expired listings. And it's great to finally meet you, personally. You're a really creative guy. I remember from back in the day. And I would strategize, okay, so Philip's doing this, so I'm going to do this. And anyway, it's great. Welcome to the podcast.
Tell them something about our show, Bob.
Okay, so the show is really, we pull back the curtain, Phil. It's just have fun, tell stories, unscripted, whatever. It's like literally we just talk about everything. It's we never know what we're going to talk about. Valerie and I have just a long history, as do you. And there's a myriad of really interesting, people we've met, experiences we've had, et cetera. So just go with the flow. I know you'll be great extemporaneous, just like we are.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Phil, you must have had some wild experiences. Bob and I love to talk about our wild experiences, things you walked into.
I don't think that I can go to the extreme wild stuff, okay? But I can tell you, because those are a little X-rated, but I will keep it.
We like X-rated.
You do?
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got tons of X-rated.
We have tons of X-rated. No names and no addresses, that's all.
Do you want to hear a funny one?
Yeah, definitely.
This is a real. I was just actually telling someone asked me the other day, what is the craziest listing appointment experience you ever had? And this was believe it or not, in the 80s. I went with my partner to look at a house. I won't tell you the street, but it was in BHPO. And the lady answered the door. She was a little older than us, and she said, she in a bathrobe, and she said, I would like for you guys to look at the house, everything. I'll be out by the pool. When you look at it, come out and let me know what you thought. So sure enough, we went and looked at the house, and we went out by the pool, and she was laying down and took off her robe, and that was all she had on was her birthday suit. And we were just looking at her like we couldn't believe we were seeing, but that was a great listing appointment. I will say we didn't get the listing, but we did get other things.
That's the raciest thing? Oh, come on.
Listen, when you're 24 years old, that's pretty exciting, I got to tell you,
It is. I know Bob and I have talked about walking on people doing crazy things, and we've seen people with crazy pets. We've seen, crazy agents and all kinds of, the stories go on that, people walk.
And a fair amount of nudity and that type of thing. So,
Yes. I mean, let's be honest. If people ask all the time, like on a caravan or an open house or whatever, have you ever had sex in an open house or in a vacant house? And I think everybody says yes. I mean, there's no no's in that answer, that response.
I guess since the staging is now in all the houses, there's always an available bed somewhere, I suppose. I mean, personally, I haven't done that, but
Oh my gosh.
That's not what I've heard, Valerie.
Oh, thanks. Very nice. Very nice.
Well, okay, come on. I gave you my story, Bob. Your turn. What's your craziest listing?
I've already addressed it. I mean, I've had multiple situations like that. I remember I might have probably talked about this on a different podcast where I walked in to do a showing on a house on Shady Brook, and this woman stood on the Stairmaster. And she wasn't the owner of the house. And I just walked in. She goes, "Oh," it was like she was like shocked, like scared. And then I go, "Hey, I'm just here to like show the property." And she was like, "Oh, okay, no worries." So it's like fine. I had to usher her, out briefly. But yeah, do bump into that occasionally, and more than once for sure. And Valerie, I was joking, by the way.
Yeah. I've had so many. I mean, people with crazy pets. A big, one of those big, what do you call those lizard things come loping by that was a pet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had one big rocker who had cages of snakes, wall-to-wall cages of snakes in his house here where I was for the listing appointment. I've had to go for another big rocker to one of his concerts in Sacramento one time with all these those, what do you call those, wife beater little T-shirts, and they have the hat on with the beer and the straw that goes into their mouth, and they're in, here I am in my little suit at this wild concert. I mean, I've done all kinds of crazy things for going on listing appointments, but inspections too. You walk in on people and, people with pets and kids, and there's always a zillion stories. And you, of all people, with all those foreclosures, you must really bump into some crazy situations.
You want to hear a bad one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So at these conferences that we do, everyone, like we go on these panels, and like these, everyone talks about their craziest REO experiences that they've had running into home, and mine always wins, believe it or not. Okay. Because this is one that you can't make this thing up over here, where we actually went to a house. It was in Panorama City, like in 2004. And it was one of those old estate like lots that's like on a little over an acre that was all overgrown, but it was like a 1-story Spanish house. The pool and the tennis court were overgrown, and it'd been vacant for like 15 years, one of those kind of homes, right? We get there, it was a government home. We get there, and it's all boarded up. So we open it up to see it, and all of a sudden out the back door, there's like 30 people that scamper out the back door, okay? We get into the house, there's no water, no power, nothing in there, and there's rats that are going everywhere on the ground. This is not Holmby Hills, by the way, okay? So there's rats and spider webs and everything, and then there's this one lady that's laying in a bed on a mattress that she's been using for her bed, her bathroom. I can't even begin to tell you, okay? She's pregnant, okay, and has a needle in her arm, okay, and couldn't move. And she looked like she was literally, like her eyeballs were coming out. So this is like, we called 911, okay? They came, they took her away, and it was beyond sad and everything, because everybody left her there. And this is the kind of stuff that we experienced at the time, but never did my heart ever go out to someone who was just like on drugs, homeless, like in a bed with a needle in her arm. I mean, this is what we saw.
It's amazing. So a lot of these foreclosures and REOs, you find the homes usually in bad condition. Is that correct?
Once in a while you get ones that are okay. People, they're just, some people are just so, mean that they just like sledgehammer, toilets and countertops. And, Bob, you've had a few bit luxury ones, I know. I won't mention the client, but I know who you have. I follow yours also. And sometimes people are just really vicious and mean. And, squatters, we don't talk politics, but our elected officials actually, let squatters, get the upper hand. And we have to go through the court systems, to get them out. And they know it. So they go ahead and they take advantage of, what our officials let them do. And then we have to go through the court systems to get them out. So that's also a little bit discouraging. But once in a while, you do get a home in good condition, but that's not par for the course.
I have a question, Phil, because like you said, I mean, I've had like plenty of foreclosures and bankruptcies, and I always tell people that just because someone has like a big house that's worth a lot of money doesn't mean they're not dead broke or underwater. And those are sometimes, at least in my experience, because I don't have a lot of experience doing that, but they get very, very vicious, basically. I mean, they'll steal everything out of the house because they feel, I think almost because they were rich and now they're not. And why should somebody else benefit because they couldn't make their payments? So, geez, on the limited level that I've had that, I can imagine you for sure must see that a lot. Have you seen where people just absolutely like refuse to move and have to be paid or whatever? What's your experience with that, and how do you deal with it?
Well, first when it's usually, I hate to say this but it is LA, when the money's gone, so is the wife usually, and so those shopping sprees and everything, it's like on to the next one, but the man is usually the last guy standing. And I've seen people that have lost everything that have actually committed suicide, walked into homes where they've blown their heads off. And, when you have a lot and then you don't have much, or anything anymore, some people, like you said, do it strategic foreclosures to go ahead and do loan workouts with the banks and this and that, and they do it on purpose. Other people actually do lose everything. They're involved in Ponzi schemes, or they were white-collar criminals, or, different things like that, and they get pinched, and then, they have to start over again. And when you hit a certain age, it's kind of hard to start over again. And they're embarrassed, in front of their family members and friends when they were always the one picking up the tab and fancy vacations and yachts and boats, and now they're trying to borrow money from their nieces and nephews to go to Taco Bell. It's a very big realization to a lot of people, and it's very hard. I mean, it's sad. Unless they were a criminal and they deserve it, but if they were actually their business went south, or they had all their money in crypto and lost it. I mean, I'm just saying is, there's a lot of things that happen for unforeseen reasons,
Yeah. The thing is, what kind of blows me away, and I've had this happen a number of times in some pretty famous sales where someone was extremely wealthy. I mean, legit like billionaires. And I always said, I had one famous story, which I've talked about before, so I won't, rehash it here. But this couple were legit billionaires from overseas, and they owned like 18, 19 different homes, and they ended up broke. And I would think if you got $1 billion, why wouldn't you at least like put maybe 75 or 80 million somewhere that's safe? But they just think it's going to go on and on and on forever. And to actually end up broke when you've got that much money, you either have to be incredibly greedy or incredibly stupid.
Well, a lot of times people, they have that kind of money and they say they have no more money because they don't want to pay people back, and they're hiding it somewhere too. So they played possum for a couple of years, and then the next thing you know, they're back at Gucci or Chanel and that Rolls Royce. But this time in West Palm Beach, not in Beverly Hills, new crowd.
Yeah. But some actually do end up broke. There's one guy wrote me a bad check for $2,500. The guy was a legit, verification of funds, sold him the biggest, most expensive house in LA in 92, ended up broke, a divorce, and I switched checks with him for $2,500 and he bounced his to me so that he could get a rental with his girlfriend. So in some cases, first of all, you're right. People that are really sharp can hide money and they'll end up, back living the life for sure.
I know. I wish I was on your side of the fence so much more, because I know dealing with those, expensive $20, $30 million sales all the time. I got to sell 100 of them just to get to your one, and it's, yes, it's a steady paycheck, but I used to always say I never met a commission check I didn't like, but I like yours more.
So what do you think? Yeah. What do you think some of the, you've ever had somebody do kooky things, like they had to have a feng shui or a ghostbuster come into the house, or you ever had to kind of deal with kooky people? People that were,
Oh yeah. I was, ready to close an escrow on a house, and there was a dead fish in a fish bowl, and the people backed out of the house. You guys have had that stuff before, right?
Fish.
Yeah, they were superstitious. They thought if there was they thought it was like a dead animal. It was like the house had a kibosh on it. They literally canceled. The deal had funded, and they canceled. You know,
a dead fish?
Yeah, they thought because the house was hexed because there was a dead fish. And some people are very superstitious.
Is that like a mafia thing? Don't they put a dead fish on your doorstep?
I think it's more of a Chinese thing, but yeah, it could be maybe Chinese mafia. I mean, who knows?
I don't know. It's so interesting because all the different types of people we deal with, right? Yeah. All the different nationalities, we have to adjust and understand their cultures and things that bother them and they look for. And do you run into that as well?
I do. What about you, Bob?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm curious because you've segued. First of all, you used to deal on the high end on the West Side.
I still do, like with Valerie or Sally or Jade, very now and then. But I mean, I sell maybe about 5 to 10 expensive homes a year at the most. My price point is like up to $2 million. I'm good at that point. Right,
but you used to crush it. I know because I used to go against you. So my question is this. Are you dealing, now you've segued into a lot of the foreclosure type market. Are you dealing with banks first?
Yes.
And then you have to interact with people that maybe they're still in the house, or how do you manage that, that paradigm, so to speak?
Well, so most of the people that the deals that I'm getting today is from because of the interest rates that have gone up. It's the fix and flip lenders, the portfolio lenders, the bridge loans, the hard money loans. They don't have to oblige by the different laws that California forbearance and all those different kind of laws that are out there for like Fannie, Freddie, all the regular Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo type loans. They kind of march to the beat of their own drum. So those kind of people that are finding themselves at like 12, 13, 14% rates, they just kind of mail the keys back in and they want out. So we're not really dealing with more emotions. We're dealing with, they don't want to throw good money after bad money. A lot of the properties that we have that are not out yet are homes, new constructions that are not even completed yet. The people just are walking away. And you're going to see more and more of those because, there's so many, like I think I saw that there was like 790 homes being built between the valley and the city in the middle of last year. And, a lot of them are selling, obviously. And, but a lot of the people are finding themselves, with the red tape in the LA that we have, as with the Department of Building and Safety and all the different laws that you have, the hoops you have to jump through. People are just, bit off a lot more than they can chew and just like, I don't want to deal with it. And with an adjusting market, although, have you guys noticed in the last week, the market had been, slowed down in the last 90 days, but in the last week, the market's like hot again. Is that weird?
Yeah.
I've been in Norway, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, because the stock market is better, right? That's really helped. And I think that inflation's, they say, is backed off, but you can't really feel it.
No.
So you can't really feel that. But yeah, that's what we do. We sell during good, bad, ugly, just navigate through all of that. So the clients that do you have direct buyers, like buyers for your properties?
I mean, like pretty much like investors, like a lot of times people, are on the sidelines with the interest rates going up, like, if it's 2% or 12%, if it's an all cash buyer, it's 0% for them. They don't care what the interest rates are, up or down. So, and in your price points, I'm sure it's pretty much mostly all cash anyways, right? Pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes I still see loans. I mean, even if it's a 5% loan or a 4.5% loan, they'll take the loan and they'll refi when the rates drop.
Yeah, I'm finding like the most qualified buyers today are really having problems getting loans. For the red tape is unbelievable on some of these people. These underwriters are asking for everything. It looks like to me, right? Have you seen that or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's much more difficult. Yeah.
I mean, to close an escrow.
I got a question for you because since you're dealing with foreclosure stuff, I know even the regular market, my own agents are dealing with stuff in the price range, well, high, but a lot of them are like, $1 million to $2.5 million. There was like sometimes 20 or 30 offers on a property with no contingency, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Kind of made it super competitive. So I'd imagine as a listing agent, since you're the listing agent on most of these things, right?
Right.
Do you get agents trying to work you basically to try and find out what deal is going to take it, that type of thing? Do you run into that?
Well, it depends what she looks like, you know. If it's from Valerie's gorgeous team, then they'll always know the answer, you know, ahead of time. No, yeah, you get people that always try and go ahead, and you got to be super careful because in my business, you know, these lenders have what's called a secret shopper, you know, and you have to treat everybody like completely 100% Phi Beta Kappa, because you never know who's on the other line, and you have to be respectful for the person, even if they barely speak English or they're talking very slow. You just have to go through the motions because it could be a secret shopper testing you that you're representing their product, you know, correctly and fairly.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
I know, and I mean, regular sellers could do that too, but banks do that more often than not. Especially if it's a government loan like a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or HUD, they have secret shoppers all the time. And on your report card that you get every month, it's like we're in third grade almost, you know? They give you a report card on your BPO value, broker price opinion value, time on market, you know, was the house clean and checked, and secret shopper, they grade you on that too. Because they do, like, you know, what you think they have better things to do. I mean, you know, there's war in Ukraine, there's people starving, there's homeless people. You think that someone has better thing to do than call and see, you know.
How you're representing the property, right?
Yeah, you know, like we're representing that the oven was like a, you know, free range oven or not, you know. But yes, you know.
So how do you? It might be kind of a minefield between a seller that's being basically booted out and the lender that's selling the property, or do you have to deal with it at all and strategize how to kind of get? It's like dealing with a divorced couple. You know, I always pride myself on. Yeah. I deal a lot with divorces, and both the husband and the wife, I'll always find a way to get along and make sure they both know I'm there for both of them, really. So do you have to deal with that at all in the sense of the lender and the disgruntled person that's getting tossed?
Yeah, you know, well, first of all, a foreclosure is the very, very last resort for lenders. You know, they'll try a forbearance agreement, they'll try a loan workout, they'll do a payment plan, you know, but when someone goes ahead and defaults on, you know, every different avenue that they've had, then they don't have a choice, and it's the borrower's fault. But people always try and do like an 11th hour tap dance, you know, like a bankruptcy or deed the property to like a third party entity. Or listen, I have properties where people have actually lived for free for 15 years, you know, and they know how to play the game. I know.
But that big one that sold up on Beverly Drive, remember, sold for $63 million in court. I think that was the case. I mean, they had been living there for 12, 15 years.
Which one was that?
That was the
Valerie's ex-boyfriend, I think.
Yeah. Thanks. yeah. But that's crazy because they know all the tricks or how to.
That wasn't the African guy.
No. We can't mention names, but
right.
I do all the time. But go ahead, whatever.
We can't mention names, but did you see The Godfather? I'm just kidding.
Yes. Did you see The Offer? That's a great show. You should see it if you haven't. About the making of The Godfather.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's incredible. You got to check it. It's unbelievable.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's no, that house. I know he lived there for probably about 25 years for free.
Right.
How does someone pull that off?
They know how to get around things, right?
For that long? Well,
yeah.
You know how it was done?
I mean, you know, listen, I know a lot of these people have skeletons in their closets, and yeah, I would never, you know, I've always had the philosophy of I will never do anything illegal in my life. Well, in the first place, I don't look good in stripes, but you know, you know, you have to just play it's so easy to make money legally that I don't ever understand why anybody would ever try and do something illegally. It doesn't make sense to me. You know, I just never grasped that. And my parents always taught me there's no such thing as a quick buck, you know? But yes, if someone could go ahead and stay in a $100 million house for 25 years for free, listen, more power to them. I mean, you know what I mean? If they can get away with it, but I think every dog has its day, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
But while they're staying there, just so you know, the payments are accruing. It's not like the loans, the payments don't stop. They're accruing, and that's just less equity, for them at the end of the day. They're not going to get all the money that they could have got. So
I think in this one particular case, there was over $60 million
in loans.
Yeah, in loans, and I think there was another one in Bel Air not too long ago that had over $60 million in loans. So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is that people think that foreclosures and all these REOs and these things only happen in the lower end. They happen in the higher end often as well.
You know what? They're happening a lot more right now too. There's so many properties in default right now, like in the areas of Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Bel Air, Malibu, Santa Monica. The notice of defaults have actually gone up like 650% in the last 4 months. I know. I mean, listen, there'll be ways for them to go ahead and, not lose their home, because like you mentioned the other day, you found it surprising that people would be in default with all this equity,
Right.
And which is true. There is plenty of equity. So they have, plan B and plan C to get rid of it, but, they got to put it up for sale. And, and the big ones, we'll list them together, and we can, because if there's equity, there's a buyer for a property for everything if it's priced correctly in any market. Don't you agree?
100%.
I mean, even if it's at the end of a runway, on a railroad, or next to a freeway, there's a buyer for the right price.
So tell me the worst location property you've ever had.
Oh my God. I think, how like some baseball players lead the league in home runs, some lead the league in RBIs. I lead the league in freeway homes. Okay. I have had probably a few hundred homes like right on a sound wall, and because those are the first ones that people lose. And I'm telling you, it would be so embarrassing. A home that I own in Sherman Oaks, right behind my office on Sutton, is a block and a half from the freeway. I had to rent it out. I can't live there because in the backyard, you hear the incline of the 405 freeway, and you can't lay out by the pool and talk. It's so loud back there. It's not my home. It's you sold a home 6 doors away from me, Valerie, right on Firmament. Okay, right. That house has the same noise.
Yeah,
it does, because it's 6 doors away from my house, and and you got like $9 million for it or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the homes in this area, even Royal Oaks or whatever, you get a hum or a freeway noise. But like in other, like the San Fernando Valley was here before the 101 freeway, and then like in the 50s and 60s, they got the 134 and the 101 and went right through the valley, so all those homes in Toluca Lake, Valley Village, Sherman Oaks, Studio City that are near those the sound wall, it is, I mean, I got to tell you, it's, first of all, it's unhealthy because of all the fumes, but secondly, it's embarrassing to have a party in your backyard when you can't even hear somebody. Like a kid's trying to hit a piñata. The next thing you know, he's going to hit his friend in the nose because he can't hear what's going on.
But you know what is the message or the lesson from that story?
What?
And it's apropos to some of the really major properties we sold on major streets like Sunset or Benedict Canyon or Colorado Canyon. Every single one of those houses next to the freeway, somebody lives in, and it's their home. So as you said, Phil, it's a function of price. At a certain price, someone's going to buy something. If it's not selling, no matter what you're doing, the price is too high, bottom line.
Or you can get a deaf person to pay top dollar.
I actually searched. What's interesting? I actually had a listing on, it runs along the 405. Now I forget the name of the street. Thurston. And it was right over.
Oh my God, Thurston it's roaring on that street.
I know. It was funny because a buddy of mine in the business just got a listing there. I said, good luck, brother. Because I had 2 there, and I had my assistant seeking out, sourcing people that were deaf.
Yeah.
I swear to God, to try and buy the property. Because, you might as well think outside the box because they don't really care.
Oh my gosh.
And get a better house for the price. So I actually did source that. I wasn't able to sell it. So it's one of those, you may want to pick up the expired.
How do you qualify them to be, they're deaf and they're qualified? How do you check out
Well, what we did, I just had her actually source like I don't even know how she did it. Just people like deaf organizations and whatnot.
Yeah.
And some of them would have enough money to buy one of these properties. I had two of them. One was on Dalkeith and one was on Thurston, actually. And I couldn't either one of them. So it didn't really work, but it was just something I figured, hey, what the hell? It doesn't, that's a negative to people that can hear. For people that can't, they get a much better house and it doesn't really affect them. So
I know. And people buy those. Valerie, you sold all those streets in the past, you know?
Yeah, in the past, yeah, it's true. Thurston, yeah, I know which side now and which side not to show and all that because
what about if you have a house on Sunset and you have to go west and you have to get out of your driveway and you live on the south side of the street? You can't make a left on Sunset.
You can't make a left. No.
No. If you want the same thing, if you live on Coldwater, Laurel, or Benedict, I mean, you're taking your life in your hands if you want to get out of your driveway, you know?
And you can't park.
No. And how do you have valet parking for like your guests when they come in at a party?
You can have any parking. Nobody can come over. You have to have no friends.
That's true. That has actually been a deal killer on some of the properties I've had. I'm sure you guys have had the same thing because it's just too dangerous to get out of the house.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I'm sure that there must have been some crazy accidents over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've all sold homes, those big homes on Sunset, but you could only go right and make a U-turn, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a deal breaker for a lot of people, you know. I mean, it's just to live on Sunset. But then again, some of the most beautiful properties are on Sunset.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had this one lady when I had a big house on Sunset, and she said, but I want my nanny to be able to walk the baby in the stroller because it was kind of close to Brentwood.
Oh my God.
And I said, let me show you how. So we walked out there and we're navigating our way with the stroller on the shoulder that was on the dirt in between the trees up to the light. I mean, well, there's a will, there's a way. But the buyer didn't like that. She wasn't happy with my resolve. So
the interesting thing is, it's like the deal I talked about in an earlier podcast was with Mike Tyson, where it was a property on Sunset Boulevard and right near Copa de Oro. And he wanted it because people couldn't park in front of his place. It was really big. So, and the reality is, Sunset Boulevard has a cachet overseas. I mean, everybody's heard of Sunset Boulevard. So, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, it's a busy street, but there are, as you said, Phil, some of the most iconic and epic properties are on Sunset Boulevard.
Right. No, I 100%. It's true. And but it's just like like the same thing with like on PCH. If you're on PCH, but when you're in your home and you're looking at the water, you don't really feel the PCH, you know?
Right.
It's a little bit different over there, but yeah, I mean, I know busy streets, people buy them, but yeah, I've had some of the worst locations. I think there's no realtor that's had worse location properties than me. I mean, end of runways in Westchester at LAX, across the street from like a railroad station, I mean, like in front of like a homeless like encampment,
Everything sells, right? Everything sells.
At the right price, everything.
The right price.
Yeah, I mean, but.
Have you ever been scared walking into any one of these places?
Yes. Yeah, but what's really what I'm scared of? I'm not scared of homeless people, and I'm not scared of like gang members. I'm scared of snakes. It's the weirdest thing. I've actually walked into a home before, a vacant home. Luckily, I had my Larry Green. You know Larry Green, right?
Yeah.
Okay. He was with me. The termite guy, our contractors. This is like in the early 2000s, and the house was vacant. In those days, you used to have to get your contractor bids, do your photos and everything, send the package in all at once and not piecemeal. And I opened up a closet, and there was a fucking rattlesnake in there. Okay. I fucking shit, okay? Because that's the one thing I'm scared of is rattlesnakes. And this thing was sitting there, and that rattle thing was going like it. You could hear it from across. It was like a little kid playing with like a thing rattler, and you just like heard this thing, and like everybody's like, "Don't move." And I was the closest one to the door because I'm the one that opened it. These things could jump at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have I ever been scared? That time, I think I definitely probably lost like 20 pounds on that appointment because I shit in my pants. It was weird. Okay.
So how'd you get rid of the snake?
So we called, so Larry's a termite guy or whatever.
Did you just slam the door?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I got the hell out of there. I didn't care what happened. But Larry went ahead and called a snake removal company. And these guys, believe it or not, they come in. They are so professional. It's insane. They actually go up to a rattlesnake with their little wand thing. They put the little wand thing on the neck and it holds the snake down. And they pick up the snake and they're walking with it and put it in the cage. They're not even scared. These guys are so pro at it that they know how to do it. We don't, they do.
So you would have just absolutely died had you walked into this listing appointment that I went to in Beverly Hills, and it was no furniture, floor to ceiling, every room lined with 3 rows of snakes.
Stop it.
There were over 300 snakes in the house.
You went into that house?
In the cages, yeah.
Well, in cages.
In cages.
Oh, cages is different. This was not in a cage.
Yeah.
Mine was in a closet, like on the ground. Okay? Yours was in cages I can deal with. When it's right in front of you, no. Because, rattlesnakes can kill a person. You know that,
Yeah,
right?
of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's poison.
Yeah.
So,
They actually just killed the #1 rattlesnake person I just read. The guy, 80 years old, he was the famous rattlesnake guy. He finally died by a rattlesnake bite.
oh, my God.
But yeah, I'm with you, Phil. As long as it's in a cage, like, who cares, It was
It's still alarming to see,
There was a house that you had 300 snakes in.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 rows. They're stacked on top of each other, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, dining room, living room, family room, no furniture, wall to wall, snakes.
Wow.
And I was walking out that little white truck, and a guy was coming out with a big box. And I go, "Oh, what's in the box?" It was these little just born mice to feed them that were all wiggling around in this little box.
So how'd you end up selling the house?
I said, I can't. Can I show the house in Beverly Hills Flats?
Yeah.
To the buyers, you know who they are. The buyers with all these snakes, you have to remove them.
Yeah.
And it was a well-known singer, and he said to me, "This is my family." And I go, "You're going to have to relocate your family in order to sell this house." It was on Walden, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that wild? You never know what happens behind closed doors.
Was it Alice Cooper?
No.
Because he used to have a snake around.
Yeah, I can't tell you who it is because the person's still alive.
Oh,
Yeah, and well known.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Phil, thanks so much for joining us. If people want to reach out to you, maybe for foreclosures and sales, what's the best way to reach you?
Always call my cell, 310-968-3844. Happy to chat anytime, or I'm pretty easy you can always find me at any post office. My picture should be on the wall. You can always find me there as well. And but no, I'm pretty easy to be reached. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Love having you. Thanks for joining us today.
Love you.
Phil,
Okay, love you.
It's great to finally meet you in person. You are hilarious. And
likewise. You're funny too. Be well, you guys. Stay safe.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Phil.
Bye.
Hey, Bob, another good one we had, huh?
Phil was great. It is so, it's just ironic. He doesn't remember as well as I do, but because I used to do nothing but expireds at the time, and he was the same. And we would be locking horns. And it's a trip to finally meet him. He's hilarious. I can see why he was very proactive. I can see why he's very successful with what he's doing for sure.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Really good guy.
Yeah, great.
Listeners, you've been amazing tuning in and joining us. Share the love. Tell a friend. Or go and follow us at realestatelaughs.com.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Real Estate Real Laughs with Valerie Fitzgerald and Bob Hurwitz. Enjoyed the show? Then head on to ValerieFitzgerald.com and thehjc.com. This episode's show notes and more fun episodes. Join us again for real fun and a lot of laughs here on Real Estate Real Laughs.